How's it going, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Thinking Blue podcast. I'm your host, Blake Harris. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about yesterday's shocking news that the Dodgers have optioned Austin Barnes to Oklahoma City and recalled catcher Will Smith. We'll also be discussing the latest trade rumors as well. If you haven't already, make sure you follow me on Twitter at BlakeHarrisTBLA, where I post a lot of great Dodgers content, so if you're a Dodgers fan, definitely a must-follow for you. Also, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to my channel. I'll be doing a giveaway in a future episode, so you don't want to miss that. I don't want to give any spoilers away, but I'll be giving away a couple Dodgers bobbleheads, so if you're interested in winning some Dodgers bobbleheads, definitely make sure you subscribe. Follow me on Twitter so you don't miss what's going on over there. But now, before we get started, it's time to take a look back and see what happened on this date in Dodgers history. Now, today's July 26th, so we're going to travel back to 1951, where Jim Russell became the first player in Major League history to hit a home run from both sides of the plate in a game in two different games. So it's amazing that it took until 1951 for a player to do that twice. Now, the ironic thing about Jim Russell hitting two runs in a game from different sides of the plate in two different games is the fact that he only hit a total of 10 home runs with the Dodgers in his two seasons. He hit 216 over the course of about 90 games in 2 years from 1950 and 1951. So you only hit 10 home runs, but yet 4 of them came from both sides of the plate, two on one end, 2 on the other. So that's really, honestly incredible. So on this date in 1951, Jim Russell made some Major League history. But now it's time to get into the news portion of this segment. This is the first episode I've done where I don't have to recap a game, so it's kind of nice not having to go over, a Dodgers loss. I still haven't covered a Dodgers win on this podcast yet, but hey, maybe sometime soon after this series with the Nationals. But the most shocking news yesterday, it wasn't the fact that the Dodgers made a trade. Well, that's something I can talk about as well, the trade they made, but I'll get to that in a bit. It's the fact that they optioned Austin Barnes to AAA. It finally happened. They recalled Will Smith, and this was shocking news. And this is definitely a move that should have happened a long time ago, but I think a lot of Dodgers fans didn't fully expect the Dodgers to follow through with it, but it finally happened. Austin Barnes sent down to AAA Oklahoma City. Now, on the season, it has been a struggle to say the least for Austin Barnes. He's hitting only 196, has an OPS of 616, 5 home runs, 23 RBIs. Among players in baseball with at least 200 at-bats, Austin Barnes, hitting-wise, is essentially near the bottom of every category. Now, he's hitting just below 200 on the season, but it has been a struggle as of late. He's hitting 117 with an OPS of 365 since June 21st with no home runs. Now, you look at a guy hitting 117 with an OPS of 365 over the course of a solid portion. I mean, that's about 50, 60 at-bats. That's like numbers. Those are like numbers for a pitcher right there, and Austin Barnes the last month has essentially gotten nothing out of the plate. He's essentially a guaranteed out every time. Now, going back all the way to April 9th, which is essentially the first week of the season, he started off hot. About the first 6 or 7 games, was hitting about 350, but ever since then, he's been hitting only 173, which again is among the lowest in all of baseball. So Austin Barnes has been one of the worst hitters in baseball essentially all season. Defensively, things have not been going great as well. So hopefully for Austin Barnes, this new change of scenery can do him good. I expect him to spend a few weeks there. Hopefully he can figure it out because, you got to feel bad for the guy. Obviously he's not going out there and he's trying to get out every at-bat. He's not trying to hit below 200. He's not trying to, make defensive blunders. But it's just not been clicking for him this year, so hopefully this will be a wake-up call for him. Hopefully he can work some things out. Hopefully he can figure some things out. And hopefully he can be back with the Dodgers team within the next month or so, definitely before October, and he can help this team moving forward. Now, in the move, Will Smith, to the delight of Dodgers fans everywhere, he gets recalled. It's going to be his third stint with the Dodgers. In 9 games with the big league club, he went 7 for 26, hit 3 home runs, drove in 6 RBIs, but everyone remembers him for hitting 2 walk-off home runs. Now, I don't know how you can look this up, but I feel like he has to be the quickest player in MLB history to reach 2 walk-off home runs. I mean, he did that within 9 games. That's truly remarkable. In the minors, he has been absolutely heating up. He's been one of the best hitters on the Oklahoma City Dodgers, hitting .269 with an OPS of 986, 20 home runs and 54 runs batted in. Now, with Will Smith over the last few years, everyone knew with him the defense was there. I think Andrew Friedman, before the season started, said that he can see Will Smith winning multiple Gold Gloves in the near future. So everyone knew the defense would be there. It was the offense that kind of wasn't there, didn't really hit for average. The home runs definitely weren't there, but he has been on an absolute tear in Oklahoma City. As I mentioned, 20 home runs. That's tied for the most on the Oklahoma City Dodgers, and we saw it in only 9 games with the big league team. He had 3 home runs. So Will Smith, this is definitely an upgrade without a doubt at the catching position, a position the Dodgers have been struggling with all season, because we talk about Austin Barnes struggling. Russell Martin has been not as bad, but almost just as bad. He's, especially at the last month or so, he's hitting about, I think, 125. So the Dodgers upgrade at the catcher position. I think this is without a doubt the right move. It's always tough when you got a guy like Barnes to really demote him. I mean, things have to be going really bad, but with the Dodgers right now, especially with a 15-game lead, you kind of have that leeway where you can send Barnes down for a month, give him time to figure things out, see if he's able to work through some things, and if he's able to come back and be the catcher the Dodgers expect of him. For Will Smith, I mean, this gives him playing time, because that was kind of the reason why he wasn't with the Dodgers right now. They don't want to run that 3-catcher system. You obviously can't send Russell Martin down. You have him to be that veteran presence. So by sending Austin Barnes down, you're going to be giving Will Smith playing time. I assume he's probably going to be playing maybe at least 3 out of 5 games, maybe 4 out of 5 games, something like that. Austin Barnes will be probably down in the minors for at least a month. So this is going to give Will Smith 3 to 4 weeks at least, where he can still try to prove himself with the big league team and see if he can continue this hitting with the Dodgers up in the major league level. Now, this is definitely something that we've seen in the past. A few years ago, they sent Jock Peterson down for 17 games in 2017, and back in 2016, they sent Yasiel Puig down to AAA for 19 games. So my guess is Austin Barnes will be right around that 15 to 20 game stretch. Maybe they'll wait until September when they bring up all the September call-ups. We'll have to wait and see, but this is definitely something the Dodgers have done in the past, so it's not too much of a surprise. It was just kind of shocking that it finally happened and they finally went through with it. But I remember Yasiel Puig, when he was sent down, he was fantastic with Oklahoma City. I think he hit about 350 in his 19 games there. Jock Peterson, he did struggle when he spent his time in Oklahoma City. I remember he hit below 200, so you got one good case, you got one bad case. Austin Barnes, the balls are juiced there. I expect him to do well in Oklahoma City. Now, if Austin Barnes struggles in Oklahoma City, then we have another topic for discussion right there. I mean, if he's hitting, less than like 240, less than 230, there might be some concerns with him, because in Oklahoma City, as we've seen, essentially everyone's been hitting the ball. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on. Now, another thing to bring up, does this mean Will Smith won't be traded? I recently just tweeted this about an hour ago. Now, it brings up an interesting point, because as I mentioned, Austin Barnes isn't going to be down there for a week. He's going to be there for at least a month, meaning they're expecting Will Smith to be up for at least a month. I don't think they're going to bring Keibert Ruiz up. They don't have any other catchers really in the system down there. Rocky Gale is there, but I think he was designated for assignment the other day. I'm not sure what his status is. So Will Smith is really the only catching option. They're not going to acquire one at the deadline. So that leads me to believe that he is going to be safe from any trades. Of course, that's just my guess. Who knows what the Dodgers are thinking, what they can possibly do. But I think this means Will Smith is guaranteed to remain with the team moving forward. Does that mean Keibert Ruiz is more likely to be traded, more likely to be kept? I honestly have no idea. Like I said, this is all just speculation. But it's definitely something to keep an eye on moving forward, especially considering we're only, 5 days away from the trade deadline. So we're going to have to wait and see. Now, before we get to all the trade deadline news, there's another piece of Dodgers news that came out yesterday that I kind of want to quickly talk about as well. And it's the fact that the Dodgers went out and acquired Tyler White from the Houston Astros. Now, this was definitely an interesting move that came out of nowhere yesterday. I mean, the Dodgers essentially, you think, have no room, no space to acquire another bat, but they went out, they did it anyway. Tyler White, 28 years old, was designated for assignment last week by the Houston Astros. He's been struggling this season, hitting only .225, 3 home runs, 21 RBIs. Now, he has shown signs in the past that he's capable of performing at the big league level. I mean, last year in 2018, he hit .276, had 12 home runs, 42 runs batted in. For his career, he has 26 homers, driven in 100 runs, has an average of .241. I think this is a move where the Dodgers, there's possibly some injury concerns with David Freese. I know yesterday Ken Gurnick alluded to it in his article that David Freese is still kind of battling some injury woes. He might be placed on the DL soon. Kike Hernandez might be placed on the IL soon. We'll get to that piece of injury news later. I think this is a move that was just made for some, much needed depth. There's going to be some moving around pieces. Tyler White, will he be on the 25-man roster in the postseason? I don't think so. But I think this is the kind of guy they want to get for right now. They're dealing with some injuries. I mentioned as well, they might add him to the 40-man roster. This gives them some depth. And we've seen in the past, this is a guy that can hit for average, hit home runs. He plays first base, so he can give David Freese some time off, give Max Muncy some time off. In the move, they sent the Astros right-handed pitcher Andre Scrub, who's currently with Double-A Tulsa. He's 24 years old. Now, he's had a good season so far with Tulsa. He's 6-1, ERA of 2.45. He's essentially a reliever. I mean, that's what they're going to be getting. He has 56 strikeouts. In his 4 minor league seasons, he's 21-6 with a 2.37 ERA with 201 strikeouts in 108 games. So this is obviously a decent pitcher, a good reliever, only in Double-A Tulsa, so he has at least a year or two before he's going to make the big league team. Now, I don't think this is going to hurt the Dodgers until this turns into a Josh Fields trade 2.0, because Dodger fans unfortunately know how that trade has turned out. Oh boy, that's still a tough one to this date. So I think right now this can only be a win-win situation for the Dodgers, and I kind of like the move because, as I said, it gives them more depth. You can at least see what you can get with Tyler White. Maybe he can be like a Max Muncy. Maybe he can be like a Chris Taylor. I mean, if he goes out there and he gets, 260, 270, can hit a few home runs, play some solid defense, then the Dodgers have already won the trade. But speaking of trades, it's time to get deep into the trade deadline news. Now, there have been a bunch of rumors over the last 24 hours that have circulated in regards to the Los Angeles Dodgers. Now, there are some big ones that I kind of want to talk about as well, but the one that I'm going to talk about first seems like the move that is most likely to happen as of the last hour or so. This seems like it's going to happen, and it's the fact that the Dodgers are highly interested in reliever Jake Diekman from the Kansas City Royals. Now, when you look at his stats for Jake Diekman, they stand out, but not in a good way. He's 0-6 on the season with an ERA of 4.75. He has a whip of about 1.34. So right away, those numbers seem concerning, but this is a guy where he has 63 strikeouts in 41 innings, so he's averaging about 14 strikeouts per 9 innings, has a strikeout-to-walk ratio of 3-1. As I mentioned, the numbers don't look too good, but this is a guy where he has some amazing stuff, has a fastball that hits 100 miles an hour. He's looked good in the past. He looked good with the Rangers in the playoffs a few seasons ago. He was shaky with the Diamondbacks last year when he was traded to them, but this year with the Royals, he has shown signs that he could be a dominant reliever. It's a tough thing with ERA because you don't really want to look at that. 4.75, that's kind of, discouraging. But if you look at his FIP, it's 3.37, which is, near the lowest it's been for his career. That's pretty good. I think this is a guy where you only need one inning out of him. If the Dodgers, and we've seen what the Dodgers pitching staff can do, especially with Rick Honeycutt, if he can slowly kind of turn this guy around, have him kind of figure some things out, I think this could be a great pickup for the Dodgers. And the best part is, it's likely not going to cost them a top 5 prospect. I don't think it might even cost them a top 10 prospect. He's 32 years old. As I mentioned, numbers aren't that impressive. So the Dodgers might be able to maybe get like a top 15 prospect. Might be, that's the absolute worst. Maybe they can do something less than that, but I think the cost for him is going to be very slim. This is a guy where if you can work with him, you can figure some things out. He could be a dominant pitcher in that bullpen. And I 100% like the move. Now, according to reports, it seems like the Dodgers and the Braves are the two teams that are most likely to acquire him. Now, the Royals came out and they said they're getting closer to trading him, according to multiple reports, so meaning he might be dealt before the July 31st deadline. We're going to have to wait and see what happens there, but definitely Jake Diekman, a name to keep an eye on. I think he'd be great with the Dodgers. I think this is a move they should make. Again, like I mentioned, it's not going to cost a lot, and I don't think it's worth trading some top 5 prospects, even top 10 prospects, to get a reliever. Now, another name the Dodgers have also showed massive interest in is Shane Greene, relief pitcher for the Detroit Tigers. Now, recently, the Dodgers had scouts in Detroit checking out Shane Greene's latest performance, I believe as recently as Tuesday. So the Dodgers are still active, still looking into Shane Greene. Now, Shane Greene is having a career season. His ERA is just above 1. He has been fantastic with the Tigers, among the league leaders in the American League for saves with the Tigers. But I do think this will be a steeper price, mainly because of how dominant he's been, and because more teams are interested in acquiring him. I don't think he's going to be like a Felipe Vasquez type guy where you're going to have to par with 1, maybe 2 top 5 prospects. Maybe 1 top 5 prospect if anything, for Shane Green, but it might be one of the backer end guys like a Tony Gonsolin, maybe like a Jeter Downs, maybe one of those kind of guys to acquire him. But if that's the case, I still think the Dodgers should look at Diekman because I think they should try to preserve their farm system. And if you were asking me, I think the Dodgers should still go after Jake Diekman just because the price will be a lot lower. Again, I'm not entirely certain what the Shane Green price would be. Maybe it's not as steep as I think it'd be. Maybe, like I said, they can get away with like a Jeter Downs and maybe like a DJ Peters, something like that. You're not giving up your top tier guys, but some decent prospects in that. But Shane Green, he's also a name to keep an eye on. Like I mentioned, he's been fantastic this year for the Tigers. He would definitely be a great eighth inning guy, and I wouldn't be too upset if the Dodgers got him. It would just be I don't want them to part ways with a top 5 prospect in order to do so. It also looks like the Dodgers are officially going to be out on Felipe Vasquez and Will Smith. Those are the two names that they had been linked to the most over the last few weeks, about a month or so. First off, with the Pirates, they're asking way too much for Felipe Vasquez. Yes, he's one of the best relief pitchers in baseball, but the fact that they're asking for at least 2 top 5 prospects, I get it. You got to demand something. I mean, worst case scenario, you just ask for that. Maybe a team bites and they give it to you. But obviously, what we've seen the last few days and weeks, they've been getting greedy. They're asking for too much. I forget who it was. I don't know if it was their GM, their owner. Someone came out and said Felipe Vasquez is going to be pitching for us in the postseason. Now, obviously, that's not going to be this season, meaning they plan on keeping him moving forward. So I don't think Felipe Vasquez gets moved, and I'm glad because that price would have been too steep for the Dodgers. Also, looks like Will Smith. Now, there's still a chance he might get traded. Who knows what the Giants do the next week, but with the Giants looking like they're in prime position to make the wild card, it looks like they're going all in. They want to actually be buyers at the deadline. I don't think they're going to be trading Will Smith, so it looks like they're out on that. So it looks like now moving forward, the 2 best options for the Dodgers in order to upgrade their bullpen are going to be Jake Diekman and Shane Green. Now, those are the rumors where we can kind of like get behind that have the most truth to them, but these rumors that I'm about to talk about are the ones that excite me the most, the ones that I'm most interested in, the ones I'm not sure if the Dodgers are going to do, but if they do, oh my goodness, this would be quite the trade deadline. And it's the fact that yesterday the Mets came out and pretty much said they're looking to move Noah Syndergaard. Now, Ken Rosenthal was on this, and he said that the impression is that they're trading for Noah Syndergaard. They want to re-sign Zach Wheeler to an extension, and they'd benefit by getting a decent haul from Syndergaard while keeping Wheeler. But the Mets are not a very good run organization, to say the least, so this doesn't surprise me one bit. Now, some tweets I saw was that the impression is that trading for Noah Syndergaard would require a top 30 prospect and a couple of other solid pieces. So, looking at the top 30 prospects, the Dodgers currently have Gavin Lux and Keibert Ruiz, who are ranked in that top 30. So if they wanted to acquire Noah Syndergaard, it would probably take one of those guys, and then maybe a few in the back end, ranking from maybe like their prospects 7 to 15, so maybe 2 or 3 of those guys. Now, the Dodgers absolutely do not need starting pitching, but if you're able to acquire a guy like Noah Syndergaard, who this year is having a down season, arguably his worst season of his career, but he has shown signs that he could be a top, 5 to 10 pitcher in the National League when he's got it going. He's only 26 years old. I believe he's under control for like the next 3 years, and you'd be getting him at a very cheap price. Now, my thing with this is, like I said, you don't need starting pitching. But if you can acquire Noah Syndergaard and you can have a starting rotation of Hyun-Jin Ryu, Walker Buehler, Clayton Kershaw, and Noah Syndergaard for the postseason, that's arguably the best starting rotation there will be in October. You can make the case one of the better starting rotations we've seen over the last 15, 20 years. And what I like about this is it could potentially solve your bullpen troubles. You can move Rich Hill to the bullpen. You can move Kenta Maeda to the bullpen. Julio Urias is already going to be there. So if you go out and let's say you acquire a Diekman like I was just talking about, your bullpen now is going to be Kenley Jansen, Joe Kelly, Pedro Baez, Jake Diekman, Julio Urias, Ross Stripling, Rich Hill, Kenta Maeda. That's a very solid bullpen that I think can get the job done. And not to mention, you have the best starting rotation there is. So, as I mentioned, the Dodgers don't desperately need a starting pitcher, but I think trading for a guy like Syndergaard, especially if you only have to part ways with one of your top 5 guys, I think you absolutely do it, especially considering the fact that Hyun-Jin Ryu next year can potentially walk. He's going to be a free agent. The Dodgers might lose him. Who knows what's going to happen to Rich Hill? You might lose him. So you're looking at next year a starting rotation that's really only guaranteed to be Clayton Kershaw, Walker Buehler, maybe Kenta Maeda, and then I guess Julio Urias if you want to bring him back to the starting rotation, Ross Stripling if you want to bring him back to the starting rotation. So not only does this help this team in October, this also potentially can help add a third starter next year should those guys leave. Now, something else I want to talk about in regards to the New York Mets is Edwin Diaz as well. Now, the Dodgers, if they're going to trade for Noah Syndergaard, you might as well try to package something to include Edwin Diaz as well. Now, I'm not sure how willing the Mets are to part ways with Edwin Diaz. Now, he's been pretty bad this year for them. He's 1-6, has an ERA of just under 5, but he's under contract for, I believe, 3 more seasons as well, so they might want to hold on to him. I mean, considering how much they traded to get him, especially Robinson Cano as well, they might want to hold on to him instead of getting prospects. But if you're the Mets and you're just going to completely tear it down, rebuild, you might as well try to include him as well and get some better prospects in return, because if I think you add Edwin Diaz to the deal, maybe you can get like a Keibert Ruiz and like a Dustin May to go along with that, plus a few additional prospects as well. Now, I think this would be a great addition for the Dodgers bullpen. As I mentioned, his ERA of 5 is kind of scary, but I went and I dug deep into his game log. He had 3 outings this year where he allowed a total of 13 runs in a combined 1 inning. He had 3 outings where he only recorded 1 out, and he allowed a combined 13 runs. So not exactly sure what went down there, what went wrong. But if you take his other 39 games this season, he has an ERA of 1.88, a whip of 1.07, and he's averaging 14 strikeouts per 9 innings. That is dominant right there. As I mentioned, you take those 3 outings out, he's still one of the better relievers, I think, in baseball. We saw what he did last year with the Mariners, had nearly like 55 saves or 60 saves, something like that. I think if the Dodgers added him to this bullpen, and all of a sudden now, you have an 8th, 9th duo of Kenley and Edwin, that's remarkable. I mean, you still have the case where Edwin can fill that 9th inning void if Kenley needs to take some time off. If something happens to Kenley, you have a new closer. But I think that gives the Dodgers the best, 8th, 9th inning, duo there is in all of baseball. Not to mention, you still got guys like Pedro Baez, Joe Kelly, Julio Urias that are all going to be coming in before those guys. So this is a move where not only are you upgrading the starting rotation, you're upgrading the bullpen. These guys are still under control for the next few seasons. Overall, it's making your team better. So, like I said, I don't know how much truth there is to this. Now, I saw a tweet saying the Dodgers have inquired about Noah Syndergaard from a reliable source, so they're definitely interested. I think getting Syndergaard and Edwin Diaz would be a fantastic move that would immediately make the Dodgers, that have the best pitching they've had during this 3-year stretch where they've been going to the World Series. And it would not only would it give them the best starting rotation in baseball, you can make the case it would give them the best bullpen in all of baseball as well. So definitely something to keep an eye on as well. Not sure how much truth there is to the Edwin Diaz portion of it, but the fact that the Dodgers are interested in Noah Syndergaard definitely should, pique your interest just a little. Now, right now, we're going to move to some injury news. Now, I'm sure by the time this episode is up, the Dodgers are going to have announced what they've done with Kike Hernandez or Ross Stripling. The other day, Kike Hernandez exited the game after injuring his hand on a swing. It was kind of a weird, freak accident type deal. He exited the game. X-rays came back negative. They haven't really said whether or not he's going to be heading to the injured list or not. Now, Ross Stripling, he exited the game because he had some neck discomfort. Now, following the game, he said he was 50-50 to make his next start. Now, what I took out of that is he's not going to make the start. If he's 50-50, I think the Dodgers are going to be conservative with him. I think they're just going to place him on the 10-day IL, let him recover for a week and a half, and then bring him back. Meaning, if Ross Stripling hits the IL, the Dodgers are going to be bringing someone up. Now, is that going to be Tyler White? I'm not entirely sure. Are they going to be bringing up a pitcher? I'm not entirely sure. The Dodgers have some options in the minor leagues right now. It's just a matter of who's it going to be. Is it going to be Tony Gonsolin? Are they going to bring him back up? Are they going to bring, Gavin Lux up if it's Kike on the IL? I'm not entirely sure. As I mentioned, by the time this is up, I think they might have the move announced because, first pitch is 5 hours away, and they still haven't made the move yet, so we're going to have to wait and see. But Kike, Ross Stripling, both dealing with some injuries. Also, another notable player that might be hitting the IL soon is David Freese, because according to the Ken Gurnick article that I talked about earlier, he's still kind of dealing with some discomfort with his injuries, so maybe the Dodgers place him on the IL, keep him out for 2 to 3 weeks. Honestly, they don't need David Freese the rest of the season. They can say, you know what, David, we're not going to have you play until October, and I'd be completely fine with that because you don't need David Freese at all this season. You need him for October. You need him in those pinch hit situations to come in late games for defense. Right now, they'll be just fine without him, so David Freese, do whatever you can to make sure he's healthy come October, and I'm more than okay with that, so he might be the IL move as well. But yeah, that wraps it up for this episode of Thinking Blue. If you have any questions you'd like answered in the next episode, leave a comment below, and I'll answer them in the next podcast. Or you can hit me up on Twitter as well. You can DM me, you can @ me. Either way, just ask me any questions you have in regards to trade news, in regards to, what they're going to do with Austin Barnes, Will Smith, any other moves moving forward, or what the Dodgers should do come October. Yeah, I'm not sure when my next episode will be. Not sure if I'll get one out this weekend, but I'll definitely get one for you guys on Monday. And it looks like I have an interview coming up with a former Dodger. Not going to say who it is. Got to keep you guys, kind of guessing. But it's definitely going to be a cool interview. Definitely a Dodgers all-time great. One of the better Dodger players from the last 20, 30 years or so. So definitely something you don't want to miss. So make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Turn on notifications so you don't miss that interview. And make sure to follow me on Twitter as well. That is Blake Harris, TBLA. Lots of great Dodgers content there. I'm going to be very interactive, very busy over there over the next week with lots of trade deadline news coming and going. So I'll be giving my thoughts with everything. And like I said, I love interacting with a bunch of Dodgers fans, giving their takes, hearing what they have to say, and responding to them. So if you're a Dodgers fan, make sure to follow me on Twitter. Once again, it's Blake Harris, TBLA. Thank you so much, guys, for listening to this episode of the podcast. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. That way, it really helps out the videos moving forward. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Make sure to turn on those notifications, as I mentioned. And yeah, this has been Blake Harris, and I will see you guys in the next episode.